So, in the theme of being transparent, open, and super vulnerable, I have another, I guess you could say, topic that God has really challenged me to share. And through my other video, The Truth About Me, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch that and to let me share part of my story with you. And God bless the people that left me wonderful encouraging notes letting me know that God was able to speak through me and touch their lives, and that is truly all I ever hope to be able to do through these videos, is to touch your lives and to give you encouragement and to let you know that other people have been there and that we're not in these struggles alone. So today I wanted to share a little more of my past and a wound that I have struggled with and have been blessed with amazing amounts of healing, and I continue to still grow from this and to learn from this. And sometimes I stumble upon things that are attached to that I didn't realize that I kind of have to work through. And my story, my story is hopefully one that is not as common, and I hope that in some ways people can relate to this, but I hope that in other ways people don't. And there's no really easy way to just introduce this. You kind of just have to throw it out there. When I was younger, I had a good friend that was the next door neighbor. And her and I used to play with each other all the time in our backyard. I had an amazing, huge backyard. And my mom had always been more of the type that she would prefer to know where I was. And I don't blame her. This day and age, anything can happen anywhere. So she preferred that if I was playing with friends, that I would play in our backyard or in our own home. She was not the biggest fan of me going over to other people's houses in our neighborhood, just because that way if she needed to get a hold of me, it was before cell phones. There was no way for her to know where I was, to know if I'd stayed there. So for her, being my concerned mother, wanted to make sure that I was where she could always find me. Makes total sense. And unfortunately, parents cannot protect their children from everything. And every parent knows this. And every parent tries, because that's what parents do. They love their children and they want their children to be safe and to know that they have a safe place and that they, shouldn't be scared of the world. Thankfully, I would say that for me, I didn't realize all that had happened to me until later on in life, when I could process it more. And I think that was God's grace. I think that God just gave me the mind of a child, that I didn't have to dwell on it until about 5th grade, when we started doing sex education classes, if they still do that, if they need to do that anymore. But I went to a private Christian school, so they segregated the boys and the girls, and they went to separate rooms, and there was like sheets of paper over all the doors and everything, so that nobody could know anything going on. And it was just more basically of like, hey, you're that age, you're gonna start having a period, your body's gonna start changing, hormones are gonna change, you're gonna get super emotional, and if you have a period, you're not dying. I thought that. Anyways. So when I was kind of getting that education on relationships between men and a woman, And I'm not quite sure when it dawned on me that my neighbor had molested me. And I'm not going to go into detail. Please hang in there with me. Please don't think that this is, going to be about that. It's not about that. You have to know where I'm coming from to know where I'm going. And unfortunately, it's a circumstance that happened. And like I said in my last video, would I really want to relive that or wish that on anyone? No. Did I have to live through it? Did I have to grow from it? Yes. And that's what this story is about. This story is about the healing and freedom that God gave me from that circumstance. But there's a process to that. You don't just realize all of a sudden that you are a tainted human being, that someone had hurt you in a way that you didn't even realize was inappropriate or wrong because of the age I was at. For her, she turned it into a game. And as I am an older adult now and I process this, and when my counselor and I talked, I guarantee you that something like that had happened to her, and that she used what happened to her on me, and I don't know why, and that's, again, not the point. And I have forgiven her, and I have, nothing but love for her. I want that she could get the same healing as me, because if it's true that it ended up that she went through something that she put me through, I know the heartache that I had through that. And if that's something that she had been going on and having done to her for who knows how long. For me, it happened once. Once is enough. But for somebody who lived in that environment and could have possibly had it happen multiple times, how could I be upset at that person? How could I hold a grudge against that person? Because they could be going through a far worse circumstance than I did. Now, I didn't really handle it well when I kind of figured things out. I didn't really react to it in a great way. I became a much angrier person. Things at school got really hard. I was definitely more of a bully, which if anybody knows me, they're going to be like, what? That's weird. You're totally not that person I would have ever pecked as being a bully at your school. Well, surprise. I don't want to say self-hatred. I never hated myself, but feeling wrong, feeling tainted, feeling like something that happened to you that shouldn't have happened to you by a gender that shouldn't have happened to you makes you feel like you're just icky to people. And why would you treat yourself with love and care when you don't see yourself as something that it deserves that? So fast forward a few years, I was homeschooled. My parents took me out of school, brought me home. Not related to this. I was dyslexic and cheated my way through school most of the time because I just was told to keep up, and I was trying to keep up, and that's another story. But so I did homeschooling, and my brother started homeschooling the last 3 years of high school too, because my parents just felt like it would be easier for both of us to kind of do that together. And my brother was having some struggles at school too, and my mom was like, well, if I've got one kid home, what does it make the difference they're having two? So after prayerful consideration, they did homeschool both of us. And my brother and I met this cool group of people that were medieval foam fighters. And my brother, to this day, they're still his family, and they still get together and hang out, and I am still friends with some of them, and they are wonderful people. The environment, though, was not good for me at that point in time. I was about 17, 18, and that's kind of when my wild streak came out. I was driving, I really hadn't resolved anything about my issue. I don't really know that I talked about it much. I don't really know that I, ever did anything about it. Pretty sure I just let it stew in my life, and I just didn't really want to talk about it. Who wants to talk about that? Who wants to own up to that? Not many people. And, here I am, filming a video and sending it out to the world. Clearly my life has changed. But through that environment, they were not believers. Not many people that I knew there were believers. And at that point in time, I didn't really care. I wasn't really interested in being a child of God at that point in time. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do and be free to do what I wanted to do and not be the good girl anymore, and to just live the life I wanted, and it wasn't a good one. By the age of 18, 19, I was a smoking alcoholic. I did keep it a secret from my parents, but I had friends and places that I could go and hang out and indulge in those activities that were not good. I love my brother dearly, and it was not his fight, and it would never ever have mattered if he had said or done anything, but unfortunately I did put him through that, and I made him keep his mouth shut about a lot of things. And Jonathan, I love you, and I never hold you responsible for anything, and I know that all you ever wanted to do was help protect me, and I know that there was a lot of things we went through with that group of people, and never once have I held you responsible or felt that you needed to be my defender in that situation. I was so far off the path of what I should have been doing that I needed to go through the things that I went through. I needed to go through the heartache, the dating the guys that I shouldn't have, to duking it out with an ex-boyfriend when we were both drunk in the middle of a campfire around thousands of people. I was not in a good place. I was not in a healthy place. I was not with people who I needed to be with. I was not supported in any way, shape, or form by people who wanted to help heal the wound that I had. And that's because they couldn't. God was the only one who could do that for me. And I was staying as far away from anybody who could do that for me as much as possible. So, it's my own fault that I had to go through those life lessons, and I had to go through those dark times. But, finally I came clean with my parents. And ever since that day, my mom and I have both agreed that I will be more than willing to tell her things if she takes a moment to just hear me out, to just let me explain where I'm coming from, because I was terrified. I live in a Christian home with loving Christian parents, but when you are not walking with the Lord, you have that awful feeling all the time that you're just doing something so wrong. And you're walking away from your faith. You're walking away from what you know that you should be doing. And I didn't want that disapproval from my parents too. Now, that was just in my own head. It was never something that my parents had ever shown me. And I should have given them more credit than I did, because nothing happened. Like, my mom sat there, she listened to me, she, kind of asked a few questions, was kind of trying to figure out where I was going from now that I had come clean about what was going on and shared what was going on with me in my heart. And from that, we both agreed that I should start counseling. And I did. It was very helpful. And I did have a great therapist at that time that really helped me work through things, talk through things, really helped me separate the good and the bad and the lies and the truth. And, you know, my parents couldn't do that for me, even if they wanted to. I needed an outside person who I felt had no judgment on me. And that's why I will never tell anybody that counseling, Christian counseling, I mean, I advise Christian counseling because when you dredge up all of this stuff in your life, what are you going to do about it? Well, as a Christian counselor, they help you seek forgiveness from God. And as I've talked about in my other video, like once that happens, it's done. It's a done issue. And there's not many other ways that I know of that is ever possible. And that's the best part about having a Christian counselor work with you, is they know your faith base. They know the loving, caring God that you have, and they pray with you. They walk you through that. They educate you. They teach you. They grow you. They don't just say, okay, well, you need to set boundaries. And, well, sure, yes. I mean, those are all good things. But there's so much more to it. When you are struggling with a spiritual sin, there's nothing else that can fix it other than a spiritual solution. So when you are walking down a dark spiritual path, how else are you going to fix that other than to cry out to God and be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm doing it wrong. I'm going down the dark path that you are not there with me. And then something interesting happens. Then God tells you you're wrong. I was there. You just weren't looking for me. My favorite analogy is when you're walking in the rain. Say you and God are walking in the rain. God's got the umbrella. And you know what? You're like, no, what? I'm good. I don't need your protection. I don't need your help. I don't need, your guidance on this. I got this. I'm good. And you step out from under the umbrella and you get poured on. You're not having the greatest experience. You're not loving everything you're doing in your life at that point in time. You're kind of regretting the fact that you stepped out from under the umbrella and you're like, whoa, cool. Now I'm soaking wet. I'm unhappy. This choice was not great. Now what do I do? Well, guess what? God's standing there still right next to you going, hi, I'm right here with the umbrella. Come back under here anytime. You're the one who's choosing to stand out there. You can come join me anytime you'd like. You're more than welcome. I'm still here. Still got the umbrella. Still have a dry, safe, loving place for you. Let me know when you change your mind and you can come right on in. Come back to exactly how you were and exactly where you left. Because God never sees us any differently than his child. And we're the ones who change our perspective on ourselves. We're the ones who don't see us as good enough. God's never once said that to someone. Sorry, you're not good enough. I created you in my own image, and it's not really what I imagined. No, I mean, if God created us in his own image, and God is amazing and perfect and omnipotent and all-knowing and all-present, how is that not amazing? How is that not a creation that is worth his love and care and time? It is. It's entirely worth his time. And he will always be there. We're the ones that walk away from him. It's not the other way around. He's always 2 steps behind us going, hey, if you need me, I'm here. But I'm not going to make you. I'm not going to force you. If you want to continue doing what you're doing, guess what? That's free will. I gave you that choice. I gave you that choice to choose between me and the world. And if you want to choose the world, that's fine. But when you want to come back home, I'm here. I mean, there's the prodigal son parable about, you know, leaving and taking your riches and squandering it and then coming back a penniless, scruffy, homeless dude who was eating out of pig troughs because he was so ashamed to go back home. And what does his dad do? His dad comes running out, gives him the biggest hug ever, puts this really rich robe on that he takes off of himself and puts a gold ring on his finger and says, "My son is home." That's what God did for me. God gave me that healing. And I was able to see myself as a pure child of God again. And that's really cool. The person I am today, I would never be without those trials, because my faith would not be this strong. My knowledge would not be this strong. My trust and faith that God can conquer anything would not be this strong. And the other thing that he gave me is a gift to be able to sit there and relate to other people. People who struggle with addictions, people who struggle with self-worth issues, people who have been in the situation that I have been. You know, I can look at them in the eye and say, I know where you've been. I know what you're feeling. And I just want to let you know that God loves you anyway. He does. No matter how many wounds and scars and bad decisions and how many times you've turned away from him, he always will love you. And that will never change. And he is waiting for you to just turn around and know he's there right behind you. And he's waiting, holding out his hand, saying, "Hey, anytime you want to come home, I'm right here. It's okay. I can heal you." And he can. He can heal anything. He can heal anything. And that is the glory of the God that I worship and I follow and that I love and I trust. And yeah, that's big. It's big and it's wonderful. And that's my story. It's not a story about the girl who was molested in her own home by her best childhood friend, next door neighbor growing up. That's not my story. That's not who I am. I am not tainted. I am not dirty. I am perfect. And I am wonderfully made. And God never uses anything for bad. You know, bad things happen and bad circumstances happen. But he can always turn it around to be something that will bless us and bless others. And that is the blessing that I have, is that I can come in here and share my story, my heartache, my past, and to tell you that I have conquered that lie. I have conquered that lie of being dirty, tainted, unworthy of love. because of what happened to me. It's not true. I deserve every bit of love as anybody else out there. And if that's the only thing you guys hear me say today, is know this: you are an amazing child of God, and He loves you just the way you are. Nothing can change that. No scar, no sin, no matter how many times you walk away from Him, He'll always be waiting. I love you guys, and may God bless you through my humble words. And as I said before, if there is any way that I can help you, any way that I can encourage you, always please feel free to reach out to me. I may not know the answer, I may not know all the right words, but I can sure either help you find somebody who can, or find out for myself the answers to those things, and be more than happy to just lend an ear to somebody who needs to share their story. And I pray that God will bless you guys in your day, and that you have an amazing, wonderful day, and know that you are a wonderful, loved child of God.